Good evening to everyone present here. I am Gursheel and I'll be your host for the day. I give a very warm welcome to you all to the UGC NET Webinar 2020, which is organized by Power Within. The topics that will be covered in today's webinar are the preparation strategies for NET, solving paragraph-based questions, assertive reasoning questions, match the following questions, how to make effective notes, analysis of previous year questions, book recommendations, and so much more. So basically, we can all say that today's webinar is like UGC NET October exam 2021 in a nutshell. Now, I'll be welcoming our speakers for the day, the two names with whom you have all bonded so well, and absolutely they require no introduction. But if I may still, then I welcome Mr. Vishal Goyal and Mr. Amit Pawar, the founders of Power Within, who, having faced the struggle of lack of resources and information as psychology students, they decided to start Power Within to provide authentic and credible information about psychology and psychology related academics as well as exams in India. And this webinar is a part of it. So Mr. Amit is a research scholar in University of Delhi and is extensively working in the behavioral skills training. And Mr. Vishal is a corporate trainer as well as a soft skill trainer. And both of them are UGC NET qualified. They've already made huge impacts in the lives of so many psychology aspirants, including mine, and are still contributing to the field every day. So we look forward to an insightful session ahead. I would welcome Mr. Vishal Goyal now.
Thank you, Gursheel.
Welcome, sir. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so you can use this test anywhere in India because it's a national eligibility test. The important thing is that it makes you eligible for the post of assistant professorship and for JRF, for Indian universities and college admissions, also for PhD admissions basically. So before 2018, it was conducted by CBSE. Now this is conducted by NTA, National Testing Agency, right? This is important thing. So there are two options when we apply for NET exam. One is just for the assistant professorship position, which will not help you with JRF. And the other option is for both. You apply for assistant professorship also and the JRF also. This year, UGC has the NTA has merged both the December 2020 and the June 2020 applications because they could not take the exam for December 2020. They have clubbed that with the June exam and they are taking that in October. And it is not pretty much clear as of now when the December 2021 exam will take place. Maybe they will club it, maybe they won't. So there is no surety about that as of now. Some important dates that are need to be considered for this year NET exam are this. It is very important that you keep yourself aware of these dates if you are planning to apply for NET, either for JRF or for professorship positions or PhD admissions. Some questions that we have, because there's a lot of confusion going on. So one question is, do I have to apply again? So if you have applied for December 2020 or June 2021 cycle, and if you have not completed the application, then you can complete it. The application is open for new registrations also, but also for those who have applied for it before. So you can just go there and complete, and also ensure that your application is complete, payment has been done. So some things are left out, and the application is not complete, and then we are able to see later on that we just missed the dates. Hmm. So as far as the seats and the JRF positions are considered, they have merged the slots of December 2020 and June 2021. So there is no loss as per in this area. And the whole procedure for providing JRF scholarships will be as per the normal methodology, which universities follows on UGC guidelines. So it will be done in the same way. There will be no difference because just because they have merged the two cycles. It will go as normal as always. So there is also a question here, how many times can we apply for JRF? So as for the unreserved category, the age has been limited to 31 years. So you can apply for JRF if you are 31 or less than 31. And there has been a relaxation for this age because the December 2020 paper was not taken. So for those people uh, whom December 2020 was the last chance, they have extended it to this examination date also. So you can still apply for that. For the reserved categories, there is a relaxation of up to 5 years, depending on different things. As far as applying for assistant professorship based on NET is considered, there is no upper age limit. So even if you have 40, 50 years of age, you can still apply for that. Eligibility, we have questions. A lot of students have questions about what is the eligibility. So it's basically the general, you must have a master's degree, whether in psychology, social sciences, or even in any science program. You must have a master's degree with minimum 55% marks for unreserved categories, and it should be 50% for reserved categories. It should be from definitely a UGC recognized college and university. Your master should be from there. And this is the basic thing for reserved and unreserved categories. Also, people who are pursuing their master's degree or any parallel, any equivalent degree or course, and they are awaiting the results, they can still apply for NET if they are in their last semester of it and they are expecting the results. But even if you pass the NET exam, it will be only valid if you complete your masters. In case if you don't complete your masters, it will not be valid as written here as per the UGC and NTA guidelines. Okay. Another important thing is that such candidates must complete their master's degree within 2 years of the NET result. So for example, if this is my last year of master's, and if I have cleared NET, but I had some backs, I had not cleared some exams in my master's. So I have 2 years of duration to clear those exams and get my master's degree. Okay. What is JRF? I'm sure that most of you know JRF is Junior Research Fellowship. And there is a cutoff for JRF in net exam only. If you clear that cutoff, you can apply for junior research fellowship, under which you get a basic amount of scholarship, right? There are also other fellowships, for example, NFSC, NFOBC, and MANF, which can also be availed by the students. If they have cleared NET and JRF, they can apply for it. And there are specific guidelines to apply for it and receive those scholarships. So that is also an option, and a lot of students apply for that, get these scholarships. Now, according to the notification by NTA for NET till last year, NET, SET, SLET remain the minimum eligibility condition for appointment of assistant professors in colleges. And the exemptions will be governed by UGC regulations. So if UGC bring any regulation, for example, they have made it compulsory now to have a PhD also, and having NET is not just enough. So that is also an add-on for appointment of assistant professors. So universities based on UGC guidelines can demand NET and PhD for assistant professors positions. As far as SAT is considered, SAT is a state eligibility test. NET is national eligibility test. SAT is state eligibility test. And you can use SAT to apply for various professorship positions and other opportunities in your state if you clear that state eligibility exam. But if you don't, then you can use NET. NET is valid for the whole nation, while SET is just for a specific state. This is the reservation, because a lot of students keep asking what is the reservation criteria. So this is the reservation criteria as per the UGC guidelines. You have SC, ST, OBC, with non-creamy layer, general, economically weaker sections categories, PWDs, migrants, and also there are some other considerations in the whole brochure of UGC NET, where there is provisions for PWD and other kind of disabilities also, and economically weaker sections. And if you want to read about that in detail, you should refer to the brochure by UGC NET. Okay. I'll take a pause here, and Gurshil, if there are any important questions. No, I don't think there is a restriction of applying it for 3 times. The only restriction that I have found, and that is best to my knowledge, is this, that there is an upper age limit for JRF, which is 31 years of age. After that, you cannot avail the scholarship. You can give the NET exam, but you cannot avail the scholarship. Okay. Nisha is here. Nisha, you wanted to ask something? You have raised your hand.
Yeah, Vishal sir, am I audible?
Hanji, you're audible.
Thank you for all the information that you provided. I had one question. Like you said that there is a age relaxation and stuff. So 31 pay 5 years for women and trans and other people. That was the thing which I found on the slide. So for JRF eligibility, if in this attempt, like as on date of exam, if the person is 34 and the person clears JRF, so will they be eligible for the scholarship or will they not be eligible for it?
So that depends because, if you go to the detailed brochure of UGC NET, you will see that relaxation is there, but there is a clause that they have some criteria to provide that relaxation. So they want to have some, research experience or some kind of work experience, and they have given that in detail. So I think you can apply for scholarship based on the relaxation for some categories, but we will have to see the detailed thing, whether you qualify the certain criteria as established by the UGC or not.
Okay, so anyway, one can get through that, or it is like after clearing, you see with the university specific thing, the way Amit sir mentions, usually like check with the university. Is it like that?
In most of the cases, it is available. But in some cases it is not available. So that is why it is important to check with university. Sometimes UGC provides criteria and guidelines. They are enforced by the university. So we will have to see, because all the criteria are not compulsory in a sense. So we will have to check whether this university have certain hard criteria or they are more flexible with it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, you will see that central universities are more structured and more clear about what kind of people they are providing JRF, while the state universities will be more open.
Okay, I am any which way is looking out for Mumbai. So I guess, and is it okay, like if you apply to the university where you have done your masters, or one can apply it anywhere, anyhow, and things like that?
Yeah, anywhere, anyhow, no worries. That's why NET is a national eligibility test. And for example, if I take a general example, if you get around 53 to 54% marks in NET, then you apply, you clear for assistant professorship positions, which basically means that your UGC NET has been cleared. Whereas if you score 63, 64% marks, I'm just giving a general example, there is a high chances that you clear the JRF cutoff, which basically means if you score more than 63, 64%, you will be awarded with the JRF scholarship because you are on a merit. Just saying, simply saying you are on a merit because you scored more than 63, 64% marks. And every year we have a cutoff around this score only. And when you get a JRF, you can use that to get scholarship in different universities.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Sir, I have one doubt. Is the cutoff same for like all the categories like general, PC, OBC, or are they different cutoffs for the marks?
Yes, the cutoffs are definitely different because you get a relaxation based on the category.
Sir, if you don't mind, can you tell us what is the cutoff for each category?
I think there is usually you can find a comfortable 5% relaxation on a general basis.
Sir, for the general category, what is the cutoff, sir?
Just as I said, it's around 53 to 54%. On usual basis, on average, it is around 53, 54% for UGC NET. For JRF, it is around 62, 63, 64%.
Okay, sir. I had read somewhere that only the people in the top 6 percentile are qualified for NET. Can you elaborate more on that, sir?
Yeah, so that basically means that out of all the people that apply for NET, only 6%, the top 6% of them are taken, and it is seen what is the minimum score of these 6% people, which usually we have seen in the last couple of years, it is around 53, 54, 55%. So this is how this cutoff is made. It's not a fixed cutoff. It changes because the minimum marks of these top 6-7% people keeps, changing every year. Sometimes it gets higher, sometimes it gets lower.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Amit and Gushil, are we ready?
Just give us a little more time.
Sure, sure. Nadish, you have a question?
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good
So my
evening.
question is like students who are in the first year of their master's course right now, like this is the June 21 cycle, but in the June 21 cycle, we were in our first years, but when we actually write the exam in October, we'll be in our second years. So are we eligible?
You are eligible. Say, if you want to try, how is it to give the NET exam? You can definitely try it because you are in second semester. Um, this is your third semester. This is not your fourth semester, right?
Yes.
Yes. So you are not awaiting your result. There is one more semester to wait your result.
Yes, exactly. So that's what I'm asking. Like, are like students who are in the similar situation, will they be able to avail NETL or JRF?
So this is difficult to say, Nadesh. Very difficult to say because it is a hodgepodge right now, and maybe when Amit ji comes in, we can also take his opinion on this question. And my personal thing is that usually this academic calendar was made in such a way that either you were in your first semester or you were in fourth semester when this exam was happening. So I think you will not be eligible if you are in third semester. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Well, we cannot say whether the cutoff will change or not as the number of participants will double. It is also that you can only if the highest score is 100, you can only score 100 out of 100. You cannot, the score cannot go more than that. So whether the cutoff will change for this year or not because the number of participants is doubled, um, it might it might not. Usually from experience it doesn't change a lot. So if you look at the paper of UGC NET exam, there are basically 150 questions as of now. A couple of years back, the structure was different, but right now it is 150 questions, out of which 50 questions is paper 1 and 100 question is paper 2. Paper 1, that is 50 questions, come from the general aptitude, research aptitude, different things which we are going to look at in detail. And the paper 2 consists of 100 questions which comes from your specific domain. So we all are here psychology students. So these 100 questions will be coming from psychology, MCQs, assertion, paragraph-based question, etc. The total duration for the exam is 3 hours without any break. All the questions are compulsory. They are not optional, so you cannot just leave them. You have to do the question, and every question is of 2 marks with no negative marking. So paper 1, 50 question is of 100 marks. Paper 2 of 100 question is of 200 marks. No negative marking. This is the general structure of the exam. As far as paper 1 syllabus is considered, there are 10 units. The first unit is teaching aptitude. The paper 1, remember, is about general aptitude and it is not about psychology. It is about teaching, research, aptitude, and everything. First unit, we have teaching aptitude, concepts in teaching, methods of teaching, support system, evaluation systems, what factors affecting the learning of students, adults, adolescents. This is basically teaching aptitude. Research aptitude, includes research. What is research? Methods of research, thesis, article writing, application of ICT in research. So basically they ask questions related to research, which as a benefit to social sciences students, including psychology students, we already do that. We already study on the research paper in detail, very detailed. So this is a bonus thing for us. Unit 3, comprehension. So you have one paragraph or two paragraph, out of which one can be on English language, basic comprehension passage. Another can be on data interpretation, which you can see in the last year paper also. Communication. So a lot of MCQs are from communication. This thing includes what is communication, what is effective communication, what are the barriers of communication, etc. Unit 5 includes mathematical reasoning and aptitude, and the questions come from basic mathematical topics which we study up to 10th standard. Logical reasoning includes analogies, Venn diagrams, statements, assertions, those things. And there's something called as these things also, pramans, from the Indians study. So there, if you look at the last year paper also, you have a couple of questions from this part specifically. So this is important also based on the last year paper. Then you have questions from data interpretation, in which in the last year paper, you have a comprehension passage in which you are given some data, a chart, a table kind of thing. You have to read the data and you have to then answer the questions based on that. So there was a one paragraph from data interpretation, 5 MCQs, total 10 marks from this part. People development and environment deals with human environment, environmental issues currently going on, environmental protection acts, develop sustainable developmental goals. All right. So, and the last unit is higher education system. You will see a lot of questions were asked in the last year paper from this part. This includes what are the institutes of higher learning and education in India? What are the value education and environmental education currently being given in Indian education system? What are the policies, governance, administration things in higher education system? Basically this. Then paper 2 psychology, I'll not go into detail because I'm sure that you are aware of this. Paper 2 psychology, which consists of 100 questions to 100 marks, has 10 units. First unit is emergence of psychology, covers school of thoughts in psychology from Western and Indian also. All right. So Indian psychology is a part of this unit only for NET exam. Second is RM and statistics. So it covers the research paper also and the statistics part also. Psychological testing includes type of test construction, standardization, reliability validating norms. In basically every NET paper, you will find at least one question on these two things, reliability and validity. Then you have attitude skills. If you look at the last year papers, you have 2-3 questions at least just from this thing. Skills, type of skills. Okay, these are 3 units. Fourth unit is biological psychology. You have everything we read in biological psychology here. Then we have attention, perception, learning, memory, and forgetting. This is the most concentrated unit in NET paper. Usually most of the questions, maximum questions, I won't say maximum, I would say highest number of questions come from this unit. Though it's not much of a difference, but to just understand, maximum number of questions come from this unit. And because it basically includes everything, attention, perception, learning theories, learning is so big. And the memory, all the models of memory and forgetting models. Right, so we have, if you look at the detail, you have models of attention, perception, everything related to perception, signal detection theory, again very important in NET exam, learning, every topic related to learning, memory, and then theories of forgetting. A lot of very key components of psychology is in this unit. Then we have thinking, intelligence, and creativity. Okay. This is also an important unit. Right. We'll move to personality, motivation, emotion, stress, and coping. This is 7th unit. Aapki. Then we have social psychology, human development and intervention. In this unit, we have developmental psychology, theories of development from Vygotsky, Kohlberg, Piaget, etc. We have psychopathology disorders. We have psychotherapies. So you have developmental psychology here, you have abnormal psychology here, you have therapies, counseling psychology here. All right, that's it. Emerging areas, a lot of questions in the last year paper were from this unit also. You have peace psychology here, social issues of gender, poverty, disability, migration, etc. Topics from well-being. And this unit, which you don't usually read, so this is something extra for psychology students. But in the last year paper, we have a question from cholesterol. We had a question from blood pressure, I guess, somewhat related to that. I'll quickly move on to the 2020 paper analysis. So this is based on the exam that we had, NET exam in June 2020. This is paper 1 analysis, which we have 50 questions and is of 100 marks. So you can see there are 10 units, and this is the percentage, which is a percentage of questions that has been asked from respective units. Yes, higher education system, as I said, but most of the questions, around 9 questions were asked from this unit out of 50 questions last year. And you can see unit 1, unit 3, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9. They are basically almost same. So in paper 1, we are looking at that there is a kind of balance between the number of questions that we have been asked from each unit. Mathematical aptitude has somewhat less questions. Logical reasoning also has just a couple of questions only. Okay, but we can expect that usually the number of questions asked in paper 1 is almost balanced for all the units, just leaving 1 to 3 units. As a whole, the total number of questions were 50, maximum marks were 100, there was no negative marking. The assertion-based questions were only 4 out of 50, MCQ questions were 36, and paragraph-based questions were 10. There were 2 paragraphs, 5 questions in each paragraph. So there are total 10 questions based on the paragraph, which is 20 marks. You can see the paragraph based question came from comprehension, English language comprehension, and 1 paragraph came from data interpretation in the last year paper. Coming to paper 2 analysis, we have 10 units from psychology. We have 100 questions, 200 marks, no negative marking. You can see there are 3 units, RM and statistics, 2nd unit, because the 2 paragraph based questions, the 2 paragraphs that are asked are usually from this unit. Attention, perception, learning, memory, and forgetting, again had 15 questions out of 100 questions. And human development and interventions again had 13 questions, because it is also a big unit. It includes developmental psychology, it includes abnormal, it includes therapies and counseling. Okay. Again, it's not a lot of difference, but again, you can see that in comparison to other units, these units are more concentrated and ask a lot of questions. Again, there were 2 paragraphs, 5 questions based on each paragraph. 2 paragraphs, 10 questions, 20 marks. Assertion questions were 5 and matching questions were 10. Rest of the questions were MCQs. As far as the paragraph based questions are concerned, both the paragraphs were asked from this unit, RM and statistics. Yes, that's it. And, I think I will stop here.
Any more questions? Okay, someone is asking, I was in BS psychology. Can I apply for NET?
No, you cannot. You should be completing your masters at least, and then you can apply for NET exam.
Someone
Yes, so Amit ji will be sharing the strategies and tips regarding preparing for the NET exam. But the information that we have discussed as of now gives you a glimpse of what is the general structure and syllabus of the exam, what was asked, what was the frequency of questions, where did the questions came from in the last year exam, so that can be helpful to your exam preparation. We already have on the Power Within website, we already have an analysis of 2019 NET exam also. So you can also check that, and it will help you understand by comparing the 2020 paper, 2019 paper, how is it coming, what are kind of questions they are asking, all of that.
शिवम जी, हाँ जी, आप पेपर आपको फिर से फिल नहीं करना पड़ेगा. आप बस एक बार चेक कर लो कि आपके डाउट्स, मतलब आपका जो रजिस्ट्रेशन है सक्सेसफुल है या नहीं है, अगर आपने ऑलरेडी भर दिया तो. एंड वी हैव अ फ्यू मोर डाउट्स फॉर आस्किंग अबाउट where they can find the higher education unit related topic जो updated वाला है. Mukti is asking that question.
So I think Amit can take this question also, but I will just say that you cannot have everything related to that unit in one place. You can try to look at sources and try to read about them. As far as poverty is considered, if you look at the questions from past year, you will be able to understand what kind of questions they are asking from 10th unit. Yes. And based on that, for example, poverty question is simply 2 questions were asked last year on poverty, and both of them were on the definition of poverty and technical definition as defined by the international organizations. So this is where you can start reading about poverty.
I think a lot of students have doubts regarding when they can apply for NET. So I'll just repeat that. आप masters में भी apply कर सकते हो in your first year, but it will only be for your, like, if you want to try and get the hang of it. However, you should apply in the second year since the score remains valid only for 2 years. I hope that answers a lot of your queries, क्योंकि बहुत सारे लोगों ने same यही question पूछा है.
So Gurshi, let's do one thing also. Let Amit come in, and he will his thing will also answer a lot of questions. Rest of the questions that remains we can take in the end of the session also. But I'm sure कि जो अमित बताएंगे उससे काफी सारे doubts पहले ही clear भी हो जाएंगे थोड़े. उससे help मिल जाएगी.
Hopefully.
Welcome.
Hello everyone. I hope मैं सबको visible हूँ.
Yes, you are visible and audible.
जी. Hello everyone. तो मुझे पता नहीं कि डाउट्स क्लियर होंगे या और सारे डाउट्स आ जाएंगे, बट आई एम वेरी श्योर कि अब तक विशाल ने जितनी भी चीजें बताई हैं उससे आपको क्लैरिटी इस बात की लग गई होगी कि एग्जैक्टली एग्जाम क्या है और कैसा है, जो कि बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट चीज होती है किसी भी एग्जाम को देने से पहले। मतलब जब भी हम लोग कोई भी एग्जाम पे फोकस कर रहे होते हैं, सबसे बड़ा जो चैलेंज हम लोगों को फेस होता है वो ये होता है कि एग्जाम का हमें पता ही नहीं होता। जैसे अभी यूपी में टीजीटी का एग्जाम हुआ और मैं ऐसे ही कुछ वीडियोस देख रहा था, तो काफी जगहों पे ऐसा था कि बच्चे एग्जाम से एक दिन पहले पूछते हैं कि सिलेबस क्या है, बच्चे एक दिन पहले पूछते हैं कि नेगेटिव मार्किंग है या नहीं है। और जैसे एक सवाल था कि
Amit,
जो एग्जाम, हाँ
sorry to disturb. This is something I also faced. Some of the participants are not able to understand Hindi.
okay, so I'll use all of my ability that I have acquired as a student to learn English and try to answer all the things here. So one of the biggest challenge that any student faces is that they are not fully aware about the exam, as to what are the different facets of that particular exam, what this exam is about, what is the syllabus, as well as another challenge comes ki whether the exam, do they have negative marking or not. So these are some of the challenges that are faced by students. So what we will do here is, because you have had a rigorous session of about an hour, also I wanted to do something other than a session with you. So let's do one thing. Let's take a 20 minutes break. Okay? But let's not keep this as a break. So what I'll do is, within 5 minutes, I'll post a link on the WhatsApp group. And in this link, you will find around 7 to 8 questions that are from September 2020 exam that would be free to access. So I'll post the link, you log into the website and attempt it. Use your phone and or another thing that you need to do is you need to keep a notebook with you, have a pen and a notebook with you, and try to answer all the questions. So there are around 7 questions, I suppose, and there will be 20 minutes. Okay, so take it as a break also, and start solving the paper as well. And in 5 minutes, I'll upload these questions. So just to get the idea of the exam and the questions. Okay, so is everyone fine with it? एक बार मेरे को सब, everybody say yes, 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 yes. No no's would be allowed because I already have prepared the question. Hello.
Amit, yes.
Chat.
So everyone is saying yes on chat.
Now, Vishal, am I?
अमित आप ना थोड़ा सा लैग कर रहे हो, मे बी आप कैमरा स्विच। Okay guys, so meanwhile abhi Amit sir will be posting some questions.
Was I audible? I guess I had some technical glitch.
आपकी आवाज थोड़ी सी क्रैक हो रही थी, पर आपकी वीडियो थोड़ी पॉज हो रही है, तो अभी ऑडिबल है. You can continue.
Okay, fine. So I guess everybody heard me, I suppose. So I just wanted to say that we have 7 questions mini test series, and we'll give you 20 minutes. We'll meet at 7:35, and I'll post the link within 5 minutes on the WhatsApp group, and then again we'll join back in the group. What we can do, we can either join back using the same Zoom link, okay, and then we'll meet again. So is it fine to everybody? If you are not good in research and stats, okay, not good means ki you do not have the right exposure to the content, you are not fully aware with the basic concepts, so then you would be able to solve at least 3 out of 5 questions in your paragraph based questions. if you do not have that kind of exposure to RM and stats that few of the students have. You know, some people in your class would be naturally, they have that natural aptitude towards statistics. So those are the people who are answering questions in your classroom, who are able to understand statistical practicals. You know, they are the ones who are doing correlation, basic correlation in SPSS for your practicals and for your classes practicals. Other than those students, if you have either a basic understanding or no understanding, 3 out of 5 questions are possible in a paragraph based question. The problem is we do not see the exam as an exam. For example, if I give you a syllabus, your first target would be to finish the syllabus. Whereas a smart student first analyzes. He first sees where he is standing and where he wishes to be. Your target is to answer questions. That is RM or psychometrics के आपको answers mark करने सही. You do not have to gain full confidence, or you do not have to know all the concepts of RM and stats. For example, let me tell you, the PDF that I shared with you has factor analysis questions in it. So I shared around 6 questions, I suppose. And did you see those questions, Vishal?
No, I'm listening to you, sir.
Acha. So take a look at that PDF. And so while I was looking at those questions, I could see that the terms could confuse somebody. So if these terms, if the same question, if I had seen the same question, say 2 years back, my first reaction would be, what the hell is this question asking? Because there are so many terms in a single paragraph. But if you have studied factor analysis, not in the way that you are, just like your course mein hai, so you are, looking around for factor analysis. Say, if I say that factor analysis was the only topic in your NET JRF exam, and all the questions would come from factor analysis, and if now you study for factor analysis, you would be able to answer 3 of the 5 questions right now. Because these questions are so basic for factor analysis. They are not advanced level. They do not require the practicality of concepts. All that they require is that you are able to visualize the concept. For example, if you do not know what factor analysis is, if you do not know that any person who reads about factor analysis must know 5, 6, 7 things. If you are not aware of those 7 things, you will not be able to understand this question. So if you want to improve your RM, stats, and psychometrics, first, all the portion that is given in stats, that is regression analysis, special types of correlation, everything, search one by one thing on internet and make your own notes. The first step should be this. Another thing, RM, stats, and psychometrics is one of the most important units for a student who wish to crack the exam. Therefore, your first task as an aspirant should be to first complete these 2 units. Give maximum time to them. Start with another thing that we do as students is, for example, you are preparing for the exam, you saw the syllabus, you would start with the first topic. Usually that is what happens. And the first topics are the ones that we usually have exposure to. They are very, they are very generic topics. But in the later end of the unit, you would find topics that are more rigorous, that are more advanced to the topic. So always start the syllabus from the chapter from below. So जब आप research पढ़ो, जब आप psychometrics पढ़ो, start the topic from the middle. Start with the stats portion first. Don't start with research designs. Don't start reading with what is hypothesis. Because now the question paper assumes that you are a master student who has exposure to these topics already. So you have to prepare like one, even though your basics are not that clear. So when, for example, you are studying correlation. Now, if correlation, you're studying correlation and there comes a term hypothesis. And for example, you do not know this term. Now study this term. But don't
Okay.
start studying hypothesis, then slowly pacing down to, because the moment you come to stats part, the moment you come to the actual content where questions are asked, either you will become bored, either you will not be that much motivated, because again, research becomes a little typical, but it is possible. So start with stats portion and finish everything one by one. And it is easy. The best thing that you can do is, another thing I'll tell all of you. For example, in stats, let's take 3 topics: simple linear regression, multiple regression, and let's take factor analysis, for example. So now what I'll go on to, I'll go to the Google Chrome, my browser. I'll go to Google. I'll type simple linear regression and then type PDF. Okay. If you type PDF, then there is a certain filter to the types of, you will not find random articles, but a relatively good class of articles. So put simple linear regression PDF. Enter maro. All the PDFs that come down, open them one by one. So in your tab, for example, now you have 8 site tabs open. All the tabs only related to simple linear regression. Okay, first 8 searches, for example. You have opened them in another tab. Now open one tab, start reading it. The moment you feel that this concept is complicated, switch to another tab, then switch to another tab. And in the long run, finish with the simple linear regression. This is step 1. Finish with the theoretical part. So when you study, you will find assumptions. You should write them down. What are the assumptions? Question comes related to assumptions. Then what is this test about? The uniqueness of this test, why this particular test is used. Then come to the next stage. What are the key terms related to these? And you will find, when you open 8 tabs or 8 different PDFs, you will find that 60% of the content is very similar. Now that is how you focus on that 60% only. But the moment you study from a single source, you are not able to fully understand. You take that whole material as 100%. And then if you are not able to understand it, you leave it. If you are able to understand it, but because most of the part you are not able to understand, you leave it. Your mind says, I don't want to, record this. So therefore, your key target with unit 2 and unit 3 should be, take the rigorous parts, topics that challenge you. Start with stats. With the first topic, a simple linear regression. Go to Google, type the term, and then add PDF. Click all the possible 8 to 10 searches PDF in your tab and start reading and make your own notes. Once you have done that, now go to a previous year question. Once you have read simple linear regression, now go to a previous year question that has simple linear regression paragraph based question. And now you will see that you are at least able to understand the paragraph. And now solve your questions one by one. I mean, like open book exam mein karte hai na, jaise see the concept, you are able to understand it, go to the notes, start with it, and then solve the question. That is the only way to improve your stats and psychometrics. Shruti, your video is on, and I suppose you are walking, and we are able to. Thank you. And then it's completely fine. So, am I clear with this, Vishal? I mean, was I able to?
Yeah,
give you some
thank you
idea?
so much. That was really helpful, sir.
हाँ.
थोड़ा मुझे बेसिक आइडिया
One of the biggest challenges.
शुरू करना है मतलब
हाँ 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 बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
थैंक यू
बोलो. हाँ, ये एक्चुअली यही की दिक्कत नहीं है विशाल. ये मैं आप सभी को बोलना चाहता हूँ, जितने भी लोग जुड़े हुए हैं यहाँ पे, कि ये क्लैरिटी आप लोगों को होना बहुत जरूरी है. हम लोग क्या सोचते हैं? हम लोग सोचते हैं that there is some savior who will come and solve all our problems. For example, there is this certain course, there is this certain teacher, there is this certain institution that will come and help us to solve all our problems on their own. But that is not how it happens. If you are not able to understand stats, then it's your job to understand it. And you have to start it on your own. A teacher will only be able to give you time, because eventually institutes and everybody, you know, they are in the process of making money, most of them. So they are again teaching, you know, a big class with not enough focus individually. So therefore, you cannot get that focus for research and psychometric that you need. Therefore, your focus should be to do it by yourself. There is no savior, no institution, no teacher would come to you and help you understand RM and psychometrics. It should be you. Who has to start it. So go to Google, do it for every topic. And believe me, in a paragraph based question, you will be able to understand at least 90% of the question. If you do this thing, I'm not saying you would be able to answer them, but you would be able to understand them. And that is the first stage of answering a question. And then second stage is how rigorously you engage with the question, with their theory and to and fro. And I'll also, adding to this, I'll also say what usually students do during practice test series is that they make it such an exam-like experience, they forget that this is their practice session. Your goal in a practice test is not to answer all the questions correctly, but your goal is to first devise a strategy, second, improve that strategy, third, you are able to understand questions and the options. And then fourth is to answer the question correctly. That is the last thing while you're practicing. And the first thing in your exam. You know, so that is how you have to be focused with your exam. You cannot simply say, I do not have enough knowledge of this unit and I leave it and go to the exam. एक दिन पहले मंदिर में लड्डू चढ़ा दिया और भगवान से कह दिया कि बस वही सवाल दीजिएगा ईश्वर जो मैंने या तो देखे हैं या मैं किसी का देख के भर सकता हूँ. That is not how it works. So that is why we all have to be, you know, really take that ownership. So these 45 days that are there, it is enough for the preparation. Let me tell you this first thing. These are not less time, these are not enough time, but enough time. Sorry. Somebody was saying something.
Sir, I have a question. So it has been made abundantly clear that students of the third semester of their masters cannot, like, even if we do apply for NET, it's like it can be like a practice session. So if we clear that, then also it has no validity.
No, the thing is, so once you have a NET certificate with you, so the NET certificate clearly states, first thing, nobody checks it. Okay. So nobody checks the validity with the date and time. At times, people only check it when it becomes obvious to them. You know, for example, you have your NET certificate in July 2018, and then your master's is cleared in 2022. Now there is a gap. So in this NET certificate, it is clearly stated that from this date that you have cleared the NET and you have the certificate, from this date within next 2 years, your master should be completed. Or somebody is appreciating my response.
अमित आप म्यूट कर अनम्यूट कर लो, मैंने सबको म्यूट कर दिया.
Okay, yeah. So that is the thing. Your master should be completed within 2 years from the date you have cleared your NET. So you can be in the first year of your master and then clear your NET. You can sit for the NET, clear it and be safely. But imagine in the scenario, you are in the first year of your master's, you cleared your NET, due to some reason, now you have a ER, you know, you have an essential repeat or a back paper, due to which the duration of your master's extended to 2.5 years, for example, and you have cleared your NET. Now the NET certificate says your master's should be completed within 2 years, but your master's was completed in 2.5 years. So the NET certificate loses its validity officially. So if you can, there are so many people who gave their NET exam in first year, cleared it, and completed their master's. They are completely fine. But for a safer side, most of the students prefer semester 2. And for a safer side, majority of students, they give their exam in third and fourth semester, for a safer side. So nobody can stop you from giving NET exam. But it's just that if you clear it, then it would be a problem, because it will become null automatically, because you would not be able to finish your exam. For example, you are in third year of your bachelor, you have cleared your NET, you can sit for the exam, you can clear it, but the certificate would become nullified, because you would not be able to complete your master's within the stipulated timeline. This is all my English. Believe me, I'm doing every bit that I can. So,
Excuse me, sir.
Please.
Excuse me. Wait. Sorry to interrupt, but Amit, can we take questions at the end, and you can continue your part?
बिल्कुल, that's sure,
Yeah,
sure,
because
sure.
webinar थोड़ा लंबा हो जाएगा फिर. Okay, thank you.
Please.
Everyone can write their questions in the chat box, or they can wait for the Q&A session. If you write it here, I'll be noting it, so your question will be answered. Don't worry.
बिल्कुल. So everybody has that PDF that I had sent on the group. Am I audible to? I mean, is somebody replying? Okay, everybody has the PDF.
Everyone has it.
Okay. So now what would be done is that let's take one question. Okay, let's start with the question and let's move forward with it. Okay, we'll start with some basic things. So I have a video already on YouTube where I talked about factor analysis. So it is in detail. I mean, it's with the heading for gate psychology factor analysis. You can see it there. And factor analysis is quite easy if you have reasons to really study it. But if you will, keep on imagining it in your head, it will become a little challenging. So let's start with the questions. I'll share my screen with everybody, and let's take each question one by one, the questions of which I'd send the PDF. So let me switch on the PDF and okay. In just a minute, I'll start the screen sharing. Okay. Is everybody able to see the screen?
No. Okay. Let me just check the pura screen wala view. But now you're not sharing.
Achha, so let me see. Okay.
अगर PDF की share करनी है तो I can share that.
I just have to share the PDF. Could you please,
Yeah.
Gurshil, ek baar. Okay, so we'll take one question. We'll take each question one by one, and we'll simply talk about 3 different types of questions. The question 1 one type of question is the assertion reasoning type. The another type is match the following, and the third type is paragraph based questions. So we'll be talking about each one of them.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
You want me to increase the size of my screen, like zoom it, or is it fine?
I guess this is fine. Everybody is everybody able to, clearly see it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So let's start with the first question. Would somebody like to take a lead and, start with the first question? Anybody? I know it's a little late, 8 o'clock, but, we're all here dedicated to UGC led JRF. Okay, so would somebody like to take the lead and, lead with the question? Okay. Let's do one thing. Let's start with the question. So the question is here.
I think
yes,
someone is saying yes on the chat.
So kindly unmute it and take the lead. The participant can unmute themselves and is that person able to unmute himself or herself? Or let's just start. Okay, so the first question is about assertion and reasoning. So let's specifically talk about this type of questions. In assertion and reasoning, the key types that we have is there is a question that is providing two statements. One statement is in the form of an assertion. Basically, the statement is saying something, and then there is another statement which would try to, explain it or reason it out. They would be trying to provide a reason to the statement. Whether in these statements, try to put a because in between. So let me just a minute. Gurshil, could you stop sharing the screen for a while?
Yeah, I've stopped sharing.
Okay. So is everybody able to see the board here?
Yes.
Okay. Is everybody able to see the board here?
Yes.
Okay. Let's do one thing. Let's try to understand assertion and reasoning question. So basically, when we are talking about assertion and reasoning, so the question which follows is, there is a question which is basically giving instructions. It says that this question will have an assertion. Assertion, basically a statement asserting something, saying something. So there will be an assertion. Then there would be another question which would try to reason the statement. So one of the ways that you can go about it is we can try putting a because in between, or we can say if this, then this, So basically, when you put a because and try to connect the two statements, many a times it becomes easier to grasp the two statements. Now the options, key thing. There are 4 options. If, so we'll start with the first question. So the first question is, given below 2 statements, one is labeled as assertion, another is labeled as reason. So the first question says, 2 psychologists, यहाँ पे नाम दिया हुआ है, 2 psychologists specified that acceptance requires respect for individual as a person of warmth. So basically ये जो 2 नाम हैं, ये आपको अगर नहीं पता है, for example, if you are not aware who these 2 psychologists are, it would be very difficult for you to basically, understand whether this statement is true or not. Now, reason is there is no mention of the psychologists here. It is therapists relate to the patient's clients in a non-judgmental, non-critical, non-punitive way. अब देखिए, आप सभी के पास में PDF है, आप सभी सवाल देख सकते हैं. In the reason part, in the reason statement, while reading the reason as a psychology student, it is clear to me that the our statement is true. The moment I read it, I can feel it. It is true because yes, a therapist should relate to their clients in a non-judgmental, non-critical, and non-punitive way. So it is clear to me that this statement is true, and 99% students will see this as true. So now we have 4 options. It says पहले वाले में A and B are true, दूसरे वाले में A and B are true, तीसरे वाले में A is true but R is false. It is clear to me that R is true. So all the statements with R is true would give me the answer. And anything else is a wrong option, is a distractor. So R is true. Here it says R is false. So this would not be an answer. While practicing, you have to focus not on the right answer, but on eliminating the wrong ones. It will give you a higher probability that the question that you will, the answer that you will opt for, the option that you will opt for is the correct one. If you use elimination as a method. So I eliminated C. Now let's come to the statement, what it says. For example, let's assume, because I searched for the answer, so I know who the psychologists are. So let's assume that I do not know who these psychologists are. Okay? And let's just look at the statement, because I think that most of the students would not be able to recognize both the psychologists. So let's just read the statement. Acceptance requires respect. So if, and look, the other statement says therapists relate to their patients in a non-judgmental, in a non-punitive way. So if if I have to accept the client, if I have to believe in the client, if I am, treating him with respect, if I'm accepting him as, non-judgmentally, then it is very important that I first have to respect him. If I do not respect the person, how will I accept him? So the statement says that acceptance requires respect. So this statement seems to be true. I do not know the names of psychologists. I'm just looking at the statement, and that the statement says acceptance requires respect. Is it true? Yes. I mean, there is a greater chance that this option would be true. This statement, I do not know if these two psychologists emphasized on it or not. But if I have to make a guess, because there is no negative marking in the paper, so I feel that it would be true. Those who know the psychologists would know that both of these people have focused immensely on acceptance and respect. So they would know that this statement is true. But just in case if I do not know and I have to make an educated guess, a smart guess, I would simply focus on the statement and not on the psychologist and try to reason it out with my experience and knowledge whether this statement seems to be true or not. So true. And if both of them are true, so this would not be the option. A and B are true, A and B are true. And another thing is whether the reason is able to explain correctly the assertion or not. So ऐसे लोगों को पता है कि भाई ये पता चल गया दोनों स्टेटमेंट ट्रू है. मैं एक और चीज ये आपको बताना चाहूंगा कि start analyzing previous year papers. And if you are able to find that both statements are true, and if you are, I'm saying in the least case, if you are not able to, come to the conclusion whether the statement is able to explain or not, in that scenario, go for yes, it is able to explain. If in the worst case, you are not able to find the right answer, और आपको A और B में से तुक्का मारना पड़े, तो आप तुक्का करेक्ट एक्सप्लेनेशन को मार सकते हैं. अब दोनों का है और अगला ऑप्शन explains A. This is the assertion and reasoning question. The purpose here is to first, step 1, check for true or false for both statements. This is one of the biggest problem that students make, is that they become too immersed in these statements. They will keep on reading these statements, without focusing on what the question is asking. They'll simply read and reread the statements. That will not lead you to the right answer. First, read the statement A, then read the statement B, C whether statement A is true or not, independent of B. Leave B, whether A is true or not. If it is true, then go for B. If it is false, then see which is the option and start eliminating them. Then again come to the reasoning part, and if you are able to find one of them false, for example, if you find this to be false, automatically if any of the statement comes to be false, both option A and B are eliminated. And once you find that this is false, reason, automatically you will find the answer, automatically. So the first focus should not only be the assertion and reasoning, but on the statement itself. Read the statement, check whether they are true or false. Step 2, if both are true, then read statement 1 followed by statement 2 with a conjunction in between. कुछ भी एक जोड़ने वाला शब्द बीच में, as, because, then, if, मतलब आप लगा के देखिए, और अगर दोनों स्टेटमेंट के समानता दिख रही है कि हाँ भाई एक्सप्लेन कर रहे हैं, then go for the right option. So this is the way to deal with assertion and reasoning. And another question that I've given on assertion and reasoning to you is the same question, that is, assertion says obtained t value will follow theoretical t distribution. अब इसमें पहले तो आपको पता होना चाहिए theoretical t distribution है क्या. अगर theoretical t distribution पता नहीं है, for example, फिर हम दिमाग घुमाते रहेंगे. फिर आप कितनी बार भी स्टेटमेंट पढ़ लीजिए, वो उतना समझ में नहीं आएगी जितना बेहतर theoretical t distribution का पता होने पे पता चल जाएगा. Obtained t value, will follow theoretical t distribution if underlying assumptions are fulfilled. Yes. Why? अगर मान लीजिए ये कह रहा है कि जो भी t वैल्यू आएगी वो t डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन को फॉलो करेगी, यानी कि जो t डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन भी बिल्कुल नॉर्मल प्रोबेबिलिटी कर्व की तरह होता है, और नॉर्मल प्रोबेबिलिटी कर्व की तरह बस ये थोड़ा सा यहाँ से ज्यादा घुमाव लेता है, ज्यादा फैला हुआ चौड़ा हुआ रहता है। तो जैसे इसमें अगले वाले में एक चीज देखते हैं, मैं दूसरे वाले पे आता हूँ इससे पहले। दोनों टी टेस्ट के बारे में है। The application of t-test makes an assumption of heterogeneity of variance. Heterogeneity. पहली चीज, बहुत कम टेस्ट ऐसे होते हैं जो heterogeneity of variance को एज्यूम करते हैं। मेजॉरिटी ऑफ टेस्ट होमोजेनिटी ऑफ वेरिएंस को एज्यूम करते हैं। तो ऐसे केस में पहली चीज तो ये गलत है, और इसके लिए आपको एजम्पशंस पता होना जरूरी है टी टेस्ट के। अगर टी टेस्ट के एजम्पशन नहीं पता है, आप स्टेटमेंट बी का अंदाजा ही नहीं लगा पाओगे, तो 50% आंसर रहेगा, या तो सही तुक्का लगाओगे या गलत तुक्का लगाओगे। ऐसे में फोकस आपका क्या होना चाहिए, जैसे अब आपको पता है, अब आप कह सकते हैं टी टेस्ट तो कहीं पे नहीं दिया हुआ सिलेबस में, अब टी टेस्ट भी करना पड़ेगा कैसे, तो सिलेबस में कहीं से भी रैंडमली दे सकते हैं। These previous year questions helps you to analyze what topics to read, to focus on. T-test is the basic understanding wala test. मतलब students who are in their masters, who would have completed their masters, must be aware of the test. That is what UGC NET is assuming. You might not know it, but they're assuming it. So you should know about T-test, and for any test, know their assumptions. It's key. So if you know the assumptions of T-test, the PDF that I've shared with you, I've mentioned there the assumption. So I've mentioned here five assumptions. The last one is homogeneity of variance. And here also in the PDF, I've mentioned about the T distribution. कि किस तरीके से T distribution जो रहता है आपका, वो थोड़ा फैला हुआ चौड़ा हुआ रहता है, यानी कि थोड़ा सा ऐसे 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 चौड़ा चौड़ा फैला फैला रहता है, मतलब इतना अंदाजा होना चाहिए आपका। जबकि एनपीसी जो होता है वो काफी ही मतलब बेल शेप्ड होता है प्रॉपर। वहीं पे जो टी डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन है थोड़ा फैल जाता है। इस पे भी सवाल आते हैं टी डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन पे, तो आपको टी डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन, जेड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन, इन चीजों के बारे में थोड़ा सा अंदाजा, इन ब डिस्ट्रीब्यूशनों के बारे में, इनका आपस में क्या संबंध है इसके बारे में पता होना चाहिए। सवाल आ जाता है, अगर आप प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चन करोगे तो आपको पता होगा कि सवाल आ जाते हैं ऐसे। तो यहाँ पे अगर ये पता है तो आपको पता चल जाएगा कि जो स्टेटमेंट 2 है वो फॉल्स है। जैसे स्टेटमेंट 2 फॉल्स हो गया, ए ऑप्शन गया, बी ऑप्शन गया, अब जिसमें से जो सही आंसर है वो मार्क कर दो। और सिर्फ इतना पता होने से कि एक गलत है, बस आपको सही आंसर मिल जाएगा। पर उसके लिए आपको होमोजेनिटी पता होनी चाहिए टी टेस्ट की। नहीं पता तो फिर आप कितनी ही कोशिश कर लेंगे, सही आंसर की तरफ चांस जो है वो उतना कम हो जाएगा। तो ये है असर्शन रीजनिंग के टाइप के सवाल। अब बात करते हैं मैच द फॉलोइंग के टाइप के क्वेश्चंस के बारे में। थोड़ा सा जल्दी करते हैं क्योंकि हम लोगों ने बहुत जो पहला क्वेश्चन है उसी के ऊपर हम लोग आ सकते हैं। मैच द फॉलोइंग में आप लोग पीडीएफ के अंदर देख पाएंगे द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन, एंड द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन सेज कि दो लिस्ट दी हुई हैं, उन लिस्ट को मैच करना है। मैच द फॉलोइंग में आप लोगों को क्या ध्यान रखने की जरूरत है? दिस इज ए बी सी डी, और ऐसे ही यहाँ पे आपको ऑप्शंस दिए जाएंगे 1 2 3 4 के वाले। तो मान लो ये है लिस्ट 1 एंड दिस इज लिस्ट 2। इन दोनों लिस्ट में यहाँ पे आपको कुछ कंटेंट दिया होगा और इनको मैच करना है। मोस्ट ऑफ द स्टूडेंट्स दे नो द आंसर बट दे मार्क द आंसर इनकरेक्टली in match the following. Now this is one of the biggest challenges that are faced by students during exam. What they usually do is they check list A, option 1, they'll match it with list 2. For example, these are list 2. and they saw option A. They feel fourth should be the option. So they'll match here. And then they'll simply go and look in the options. Okay, this one is matched, tick it. Or they look for another one, C, for example, and they found B to be the option. They'll find the option there and they'll mark it. This is the wrong way to approach match the following questions. Match the following questions should be strictly approached with elimination method. Strictly. Why strictly? Because if you do not eliminate, there is a higher chance you will mark the incorrect question. Because MCQ is not about answering the right question, but it is about answering the most appropriate question. That is why there are multiple choices to that one question. And as the difficulty level of a question increases, the chances of distractors to fake an answer will increase. So there might be a higher chance that you will mark a fake answer, a distractor, and you will and there are options in such a way that if you go with this approach, there is a higher chance you will mark the wrong question, wrong answer. Therefore, look for the options that you are particularly sure. Step 1, for match the following, let's focus on 2 key steps. This is what I usually use myself. Step 1, step 2. First, look for the option that you are absolutely sure is not the option. You believe with your experience and with your preparation that this and this would not be the right option at any given point of time. Because if you are sure about it, then look that in the options. Secondly, that you are absolutely sure is the option. In case this strategy fails, many a times it happens, we are not able to rightly guess कि इस तरह का कुछ है या नहीं. Then also contrast and compare at that point of time which option is highly कि A का आंसर 4 है, उसके अलावा कोई आंसर ही नहीं हो सकता है. Look for one absolute yes and look for one absolute no. And that will help you to probably answer the question correctly. It will higher your chance, because that is the biggest mistake in match the following. You look at the options, you mark the answer, you go to the option, and then you mark the answer. So the correct strategy should be go for options that are absolutely would not be the answer to one another. For example, I know that A would not be the answer to 4. I know it for sure. I look at the option and I'll find कि भाई this is the case in 2 of the options or in 3 of the options many a times. And you can easily say these options are eliminated. Because your purpose is not just to answer a question, your purpose is to answer the question correctly. So in an MCQ exam, your focus is high on eliminating the options so that your chances of answering the question correctly increases. For example, there are 4 options. Okay, let's see why this is important. There are 4 options. Each option has a 20% chance of being correct. If you eliminate one option, there are 4 options. If you eliminate one option, there is a अब देखिए हर किसी का 25% है, ठीक है, इसको छोड़िए, हर किसी का 25% है। अब यहाँ पे आपको क्या कोशिश करनी है, या तो आपका 100% चांस होना चाहिए आंसर को सही करने का, या फिर ज्यादा से ज्यादा 75% चांस होना चाहिए। तो आपकी कोशिश ये होनी चाहिए कि मैं ज्यादा से ज्यादा क्वेश्चंस को एलिमिनेट करता जाऊं। मैंने जैसे ही एक को एलिमिनेट कर दिया, 25% चांस मेरा बढ़ गया आंसर करेक्ट करने का। मैं अगर एक और को एलिमिनेट कर दूं तो 50% चांस बढ़ गया मेरा। मैं अगर तीसरे को एलिमिनेट कर दूं तो 75% चांस बढ़ गया। And the game with MCQ is answering the question with a higher probability, with a higher chance of it being correct. तो MCQs में ये खास ध्यान रखना है आपको कि आपको यही वाला ऑप्शन यूज करना है, क्योंकि आपको आंसर बढ़ा के रखना है। अब now let's come to the key focus, that is the paragraph based questions. Now it's very important to understand. अब देखिए हम लोग पैराग्राफ बेस्ड क्वेश्चन की बात करते हैं। जैसे हम लोगों का पैराग्राफ बेस्ड क्वेश्चन यहाँ पे जो मैंने आप लोगों को पीडीएफ में शेयर किया है, उसमें ये है कि एक साइकोलॉजिस्ट डेवलप द स्केल। दिस इज द सितंबर 2022 क्वेश्चन पेपर दैट वी आर डिस्कसिंग। अ साइकोलॉजिस्ट डेवलप द स्केल फॉर मेजरिंग वार्मथ एंड कॉम्पिटेंस डिमेंशंस। एज अ पार्ट ऑफ स्केल डेवलपमेंट शी फैक्टर एनालाइज्ड, यानी कि फैक्टर एनालिसिस की हम लोग बात करेंगे, 25 items to retain 20 items. She chose exploratory factor analysis. So majority of time we move towards exploratory factor analysis and then go to principal component analysis. When you'll study factor, it's very important for you to study factor analysis. When you'll study factor analysis, you will understand these terms. I'm not saying you'll remember all those terms, but you have to keep reading your notes that you prepared for this method, and then you will find and able to understand different terms that are used with this. So she used principal component analysis to extract components. We use factor analysis so that we can reduce variables. For example, you have say 1,000 variables and you want to reduce them to a meaningful group. So you group them together. I mean, the structure groups it together. So you are reducing the variables from a higher number to a lesser and more meaningful variables. So factor analysis is a data reduction method, and where principal component analysis method is applied by this particular psychologist, and she has got the following eigenvalues for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. She has given the eigenvalues. She has given 8 eigenvalues here. She retained factor on the basis of Scree plot and rotated them using Verimax criteria. जब आप फैक्टर एनालिसिस पढ़ेंगे तो रोटेशन एक की कॉन्सेप्ट आएगा, और एक सवाल, ये लगभग 5-6 सालों से जब भी फैक्टर एनालिसिस आता है, एक सवाल रोटेशन पे जरूर आता है, एक सवाल बहुत ही ज्यादा बेसिक होता है, एक सवाल पिछले वाले को ही फॉरवर्ड करते हुए आगे कंटिन्यू किया जाता है। इस तरीके से एक पैटर्न रहता है पैराग्राफ बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस में। तो और एक क्वेश्चन जो है वो मतलब बहुत ही बेसिक सा इस तरीके को उठा लेंगे जो बिल्कुल थ्योरी पे बेस्ड होता है। अगर आपको थ्योरी पता है आप क्वेश्चन का आंसर कर देंगे। तो अगर आपको बहुत अच्छे से नहीं आता है और आपने एग्जाम के लिए फैक्टर एनालिसिस पढ़ा है, देन आप कम से कम 5 में से 3 सवाल तो सही कर सकते हैं। तो यहाँ पे ये लोग बार्लेट के टेस्ट की बात कर रहे हैं यहाँ पे, और बार्लेट टेस्ट फॉर ये स्पेरिसिटी जो है, ये अगर आपको पता नहीं है कि ये टेस्ट क्या है, जब आप फैक्टर एनालिसिस पढ़ेंगे तो आप सामने ही पढ़ लोगे कि भाई ये एक इंपॉर्टेंट टेस्ट है इसके अंदर। लेकिन अगर मान लो आपने पढ़ा नहीं फैक्टर एनालिसिस और ये टेस्ट आपने नहीं पढ़ा है, तो ऐसे केस में ये क्वेश्चन को पढ़ना, समझना और आंसर देना चैलेंजिंग हो जाएगा, और आप सीधे फिर अगला क्वेश्चन चैलेंजिंग हो जाएगा, अगला क्वेश्चन चैलेंजिंग हो जाएगा, और पूरा का पूरा पैराग्राफ बेस्ड क्वेश्चन आप छोड़ देंगे या रैंडमली टिक कर देंगे। एक वीडियो है विच आई सॉ रिसेंटली, एंड उसमें रिसर्च के थ्रू दे सेड अच्छी वीडियो है, आप लोग भी सर्च कर सकते हैं उसके बारे में। एंड ही टॉक्स अबाउट रिसर्च ऑन MCQs, और उन्होंने कहा है कि अगर मान लो आपको तुक्का मारना पड़े, मान लो आपको जवाब ही नहीं आता है और रेंडमली तुक्का मारना पड़े, तो ज्यादातर लोग जो है वो A और C पे तुक्का मारते हैं, या तो A मारते चले जाएंगे, या D मारेंगे, या C मारते हैं। B बहुत कम लोग होते हैं जो B पे तुक्का मारते हैं। तो ये बहुत रैंडम सी बात मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ बीच में, कि उसमें इस चीज के ऊपर मेंशन किया हुआ था। इट्स अ वेरी गुड वीडियो, जिसके अंदर वो कह रहे थे अगर इफ द चांस कम्स कि अगर आपको तुक्का ही मारना है, मान लीजिए सवाल में, सो द रिसर्च सेज कि आपको B ऑप्शन को तुक्का मारना चाहिए ज्यादा। तो देयर इज अ हायर चांस कि आपका आंसर शायद ठीक हो जाए अगर आप B तुक्का मारते हैं। ये उस वाले केस में है अगर आप तुक्का मार रहे हैं। तो हमारा कोशिश ये रहती है कि हमें तुक्का ना मारना पड़े और हम लोग किसी ना किसी तरीके से चांस बढ़ाते जाएं, 25 से 50, 50 से 75, 75 से 100, ऐसे चांस करते जाएं और ऑप्शंस को एलिमिनेट करते जाएं। हमारा फोकस इस चीज पे रहता है। और मेरे ख्याल से काफी ज्यादा टाइम हो गया, 2.5-3 घंटे होने को जा रहे हैं सेशन को। अगर आप लोगों को कंफर्टेबल लगे, व्हाट वी कैन डू इज कि अभी हम लोगों ने ये चीज शुरू भी नहीं करी है, आप लोग वैसे भी कह रहे थे पैराग्राफ बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस को लेके थोड़ी सी चैलेंज आप लोग फेस कर पा रहे हैं। लेट्स डू वन थिंग, ये पैराग्राफ बेस्ड क्वेश्चन और थोड़ा सा फैक्टर एनालिसिस क्या होता है क्या नहीं होता है, ये चीज हम लोग नेक्स्ट टाइम कवर कर लेते हैं। मैं थोड़ा सा फैक्टर एनालिसिस भी आप लोगों को पढ़ा दूंगा, बेसिक थ्योरेटिकल लेवल पे क्या चीज होती है फैक्टर एनालिसिस, और उसके बाद में हम लोग इस क्वेश्चन को लेके ऑप्शन, मतलब इस पूरे के पूरे 5 सवालों को लेते हुए चलेंगे और फिर देख लेंगे कैसा है। बिकॉज आई गेस काफी टाइम हो गया है एंड आप लोग भी काफी थक गए होंगे, तो इट्स नॉट गुड, इट वुड द रिटेंशन वुड नॉट बी गुड अगर हम इसको कंटिन्यू करते जाएं काफी लंबे टाइम के लिए। सो गुरशील, आई हैंड द सिचुएशन टू यू, और कुछ सवाल है 1-2 तो हम लोग पूछ लेते हैं, बात कर लेते हैं, बाकी मुझे लगता है कि इसको हम कभी दोबारा कंटिन्यू कर सकते हैं क्योंकि अभी काफी टाइम हो गया बच्चों के लिए शायद।
यस डेफिनेटली, मैं बस आपको 1-2 क्वेश्चंस पूछ लेती हूँ जो मतलब चैट में पहले थे। तो उसमें एक क्वेश्चन है कि अगर गेट एंड नेट दोनों क्लियर हो जाते हैं तो क्या दोनों से लाइक सो इफ बेसिकली गेट एंड नेट बोथ आर क्लियर्ड, सो विल वी बी गेटिंग फंडिंग फ्रॉम बोथ ऑफ देम?
पहली चीज तो दोनों में से किसी चीज की फंडिंग नहीं है, ना नेट की फंडिंग है ना गेट की फंडिंग है। फंडिंग होती है रिसर्च की, यानी कि अगर आप PhD कंटिन्यू करते हैं कहीं पे, या आप MPhil कर रहे हैं, या किसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के साथ में आप रिसर्च पेपर लिख रहे हैं या उनके बिहाफ पे कोई रिसर्च कंडक्ट कर रहे हैं, उस वाले सिनेरियो में आपको ग्रांट मिलती है या स्कॉलरशिप मिलती है। तो गेट और नेट की ऐसी कोई स्कॉलरशिप नहीं है खुद की, जो आप एग्जाम क्लियर करोगे और वो आपको एग्जाम क्लियर करने के पैसे देंगे। JRF का स्कॉलरशिप है वो तभी मिलता है जब आप PhD में एनरोल्ड होते हैं, और आप 2 जगह पे PhD में एनरोल नहीं हो सकते हैं, आप एक ही जगह पे होंगे और उस जगह से आपको फंडिंग मिलेगी। उसके लिए JRF क्लियर होना चाहिए। गेट डज नॉट मीन आपको फंडिंग मिलेगी, नेट की खुद की कोई फंडिंग नहीं होती है। गेट से आप मास्टर्स में जाते हैं, नेट से आप टीचर बनते हैं, और उसके लिए भी अब आप एडहॉक पे ही पढ़ा सकते हैं। आपको PhD भी कंपलसरी है अगर आप असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसरशिप के लिए जानना चाहते हैं। दिस इज द सिनेरियो।
Okay. Now another question asks that if we clear both JRF and assistant professor, do we have to select one or we can do both at the same time?
You do not do them. For example, NET exam is an eligibility exam. Eligibility means कि you are eligible now, मतलब ये वो स्टेज है जिसके बाद आप असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर के लिए आपने एक स्टेज पूरा कर लिया है। अगर आप प्रोफेसर बनना चाहते हो, मतलब जैसे आपके डिपार्टमेंट में जो बैचलर्स मास्टर्स लेवल पे PhD बच्चों कराते हैं, ये लोग पढ़ाते हैं, अगर आप इस तरह से प्रोफेसर बनना चाहते हैं तो इसके लिए आपको 2 चीजें चाहिए इंडिया में। एक तो ये कि आपका नेट एग्जाम क्वालिफाइड होना चाहिए, दूसरा अगर आप परमानेंट पोजीशन चाहते हैं तो आपका PhD होना चाहिए आपके पास में। अगर ये 2 चीजें हैं तो अगर किसी इंस्टीट्यूट में, यूनिवर्सिटी में वैकेंसी खुलती है और वैकेंसी खुलने के बाद में अगर मान लीजिए वो ऑप्शन आता है आपका कि भाई हम लोगों का, आप जो बच्चे नेट क्वालिफाइड हैं वो फॉर्म भर सकते हैं, और केवल नेट ही नहीं होता है जो चाहिए होता है, आपका एकेडमिक परफॉर्मेंस इंडेक्स करके कॉन्सेप्ट होता है एपीआई, जो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होता है यूनिवर्सिटीज के लिए, जो आपको एक मिनिमम परसेंटेज चाहिए होता है। उस पर यूट्यूब पे जाओगे तो मैंने एपीआई पे पूरा डिटेल में 2 वीडियोस लंबा चौड़ा बनाया हुआ है, सब क्लियर हो जाएगा उससे। नेट जस्ट मीन्स कि अब आप स्टेज 1 कंप्लीट कर चुके हो टीचिंग के लिए, अब आप टीचर बन सकते हो, पढ़ा सकते हो आप डिपार्टमेंट से। वो कोई मतलब कुछ है नहीं अपने आप में, जस्ट अ टेस्ट, बस एक आपको रिकॉर्ड मिलेगा कि भाई इसने कर लिया है टीचर, मतलब इट्स जस्ट एन एलिजिबिलिटी टेस्ट, यू डू नॉट गेट एनीथिंग फ्रॉम इट। आप उसके बाद जो प्रोसीजर होता है यूनिवर्सिटीज का, उसके थ्रू आप असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसरशिप के लिए जा सकते हैं। मान लो पीएचडी नहीं है, आप पढ़ाना चाहते हो, टेम्पररी एडहॉक टीचर होते हैं आपके यहाँ पे, तो उसके लिए बस आप मास्टर्स कंप्लीट होनी चाहिए, नेट होना चाहिए, आप एडहॉक लग जाओगे। अगर नेट नहीं है तो कोई आपको बुलाएगा भी नहीं पढ़ाने के लिए किसी भी कॉलेज में, वो है नेट एग्जाम। और जेआरएफ होती है स्कॉलरशिप, अगर जेआरएफ कर लिया है तो मतलब नेट ऑटोमेटिकली कर लिया है। एक ही एग्जाम होता है जिसके टॉप स्कोरर्स को नेट और जेआरएफ दोनों मिलता है, और थोड़े कम स्कोर वालों को नेट मिलता है केवल। जेआरएफ मतलब अगर आप पीएचडी में या एमफिल में कहीं एनरोल करोगे तो वो आपको पैसा देंगे जब तक आपकी पीएचडी और एमफिल चलेगी, बस दैट इज इट जेआरएफ। और बाकी यूट्यूब पे नेट जेआरएफ के बारे में डिटेल में दिया हुआ है, वो देख सकते हैं।
Yes, absolutely. So another question is that is NET for is GATE exam for PhD or is it only for masters?
वैसे तो गेट एग्जाम जो होता
Sorry
है,
to interrupt, Amit. English. We'll have to speak in English.
oh sorry, yeah. So one of the challenges right now is that with the psychology program things are not that much clear. Even for example, even students who have cleared GATE in February of 2021, they are not well aware as to how they have to proceed next. So many things would become clear in the few coming months. For example, will there be a separate exam for PhD, or will the same GATE exam be used as the sole criteria for masters or PhD? For example, I am not fully aware कि आप, मुझे जहां तक लगता है कि शायद ऐसा नहीं है कि सेम गेट एग्जाम से PhD का दे पाएंगे। बाकी विशाल को कुछ इस पे एक्स्ट्रा जानकारी है तो बता सकते हैं। मुझे ऐसा लगता है शायद PhD के लिए आपको अलग से एग्जाम देना होता है, और वो चीज एक चीज है जो कुछ महीनों में कंफर्म हो थोड़ा सा, क्योंकि साइकोलॉजी में एकदम से गेट मास्टर्स में आया है तो उसको लेकर भी क्लैरिटी जो है वो थोड़ा थोड़ा सा है, जो धीरे धीरे स्टूडेंट जैसे जैसे देते रहेंगे वो बढ़ती जाएगी। तो मेरे ख्याल से इसी सवाल का जवाब हम लोग बेहतर अब से 3 से 4 महीने बाद दे सकते हैं। ये कुछ जवाब है जिससे मतलब कुछ ग्रे एरियाज आप कह सकते हैं अभी के लिए, तो मैं इस पे कोई आंसर इस समय पे कंक्लूसिव आंसर नहीं दे पाऊंगा। मेरी समझ से सेम गेट एग्जाम से आप मास्टर्स और पीएचडी में नहीं जा सकते साइकोलॉजी। आई एम जस्ट एज्यूमिंग, वो श्योर होना पड़ेगा उसके लिए।
It's okay. I think we'll get clarity in some more time, like
क्योंकि
once the guidelines come. Yeah.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, because when there was no masters, I mean before February, there was an exam for PhD, which students had to clear. Now we do not know whether there is the same exam or the exam is different, but under the GATE exam. तो वो चीज थोड़ा सा, this is something that we would get clarity maybe in few months.
Now we'll just be taking one last question, which talks about the book recommendations, and then we'll be ending the webinar.
बिल्कुल. So when you opt for a book that is for the exam, good books for NET exams, to be honest, because I don't know, there is just a particular way that everybody perceives the exam, but most of the authors or the publishers who are providing books, they do not vision the exam in the book. They just cover everything that is there in their syllabus randomly into their books. Therefore, it's very important for all of us to not trust one single book for your full preparation. One book will help you to stay disciplined. Focus on what I'm saying. One book will help you to stay disciplined. You will be able to map out how much you have theoretically completed your syllabus. So therefore, you have to opt for a book that covers your full syllabus, number one. That book will help you to map out your performance, to map out the amount of content that you have covered. Secondly, there is no one good book. There are so many mistakes in so many publishers. We did try to, compile one book. We compiled all of our notes in this book, and we can only share the review that students have provided. And a high number of students are satisfied with this content, and many students have used this book to clear their exams. But that does not mean that this book is the right book for you. Therefore, it's important for you to choose your own book. Another thing, go for topics rather than chapters. Don't focus on a single chapter from a single book. Go for key topics and search them on net. Look them from different books. Key topics. Because in 45 days, you cannot look through all the topics from X number of books. So you can have one single book so that you can map out कि भाई इतना मोटा किताब है और मेरे को ये खत्म करना है, तो मैं इसमें से की टॉपिक फिनिश करता जाऊं. तो मेरे पास मैप करने के लिए मेरे पे कुछ है, तो एक चीज मैप करने के लिए हो गई. दूसरी चीज, जो टॉपिक की है उस टॉपिक को फटाफट गूगल पे टाइप करिए और गूगल पे उस टॉपिक की पीडीएफ जो पब्लिश्ड आर्टिकल्स है उन आर्टिकल से पढ़िए. एंड उससे भी ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट चीज जो आपकी है, क्योंकि बुक रिकमेंडेशंस पे यूनिट वाइज भी यूट्यूब पे वीडियो है और क्यूमुलेटिव भी वीडियो है. अब हम अपनी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में अपनी बुक चला रहे हैं तो हम तो इसे ही रिकमेंड करेंगे क्योंकि हमने मेहनत करी है इसमें बनाने में. लेकिन ये पक्की बात है कि सारी की सारी बुक्स जो है वो बायस्ड होती हैं ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के विजन से. तो लुक वन बुक टू कवर ऑल द कंटेंट. आप अमेजोन पे चेक कर सकते हैं, यूजीसी नेट जेआरएफ बुक डाल के देखेंगे तो उसके अंदर आपको जानकारी मिल जाएगी. और दूसरा, टॉपिक्स को आप गूगल से या आपके पास में किताबें अपनी रखी हुई हैं, कोई भी XYZ बुक, उससे वो टॉपिक कवर करिए और पूरा का पूरा सिलेबस फिनिश करिए. अगली चीज, 45 दिन के अंदर सिलेबस को फिनिश करना एकमात्र फोकस नहीं होना चाहिए. जितना सिलेबस हो जाए अच्छा है. ज्यादा से ज्यादा सिलेबस को अप्रोच करिए क्वेश्चन से. क्वेश्चन से अप्रोच करने का मतलब है सितंबर 2020 का पेपर उठाइए और अटेम्प्ट करना शुरू करिए. पेपर आप किताब में मिले किताब में ले लीजिए, ऑनलाइन मिले ऑनलाइन ले लीजिए. फोकस ऑन कंप्लीटिंग द एग्जाम, कंप्लीटिंग द प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चन पेपर एटलीस्ट ऑफ past 2 to 3 years. Complete those question papers and start doing them question 1, 2, 3. Then look at the question. If you are unable to understand it, go to the theory. Look at the question. If you are able to understand the question but are not aware about the options, then read about the options in the theory. So in these 45 days, it's very important to focus less on theory, more on test series, and then moving to theory. You can find test series on our platform also, powerwithinpsychology.com. We have practice sets as well as previous year papers available with answers, explanations and analysis. वो आप वहां से करना चाहे वहां से भी कर सकते हैं. आपके पास भी किताब है. If you have any book and it has questions, do it from there. But your primary objective should be to finish at least past 3 years previous year question. That should be your focus one in these 45 days. This will help you to, filter out the theory. If you directly move into theory in these 45 days, it would be very difficult for you to move out of it.
Thank you so much, Amit. I think that was very well explained, and probably they've gotten a strategy as well as where to access resources. So overall, now I would just like to take the opportunity to conclude this session. I would request you all to put the feedback in the chat box, and I'll be sharing all the important links for the website, for our website, for the course details on the WhatsApp group only, and the recording for the session will also be shared over there. And if any doubts have been unanswered, then we hopefully will plan another session which will talk about the strategies for the remaining questions. So we will meet you over there, and the WhatsApp group is here. and I can see a lot of feedback coming in. So you can see that, Amit, and I'm pretty sure it was a very nice session and like very knowledgeable one.
Sure. Thank you so much, everyone. And Gushil, do take the screenshot of the chats so that we can later see the feedback. And
Yes, I'm doing that.
sure. Thank you so much, everyone. And I guess, Gushil, now we can start leaving one by one.
Yeah, we can start leaving.
Bilkul. And if anybody needs any information about Power Within, our courses, test series, you can simply check out our website, which is powerwithinpsychology.com. And you can look for details, or you can contact Gushil via the contact number offered to you. And we have started a live course for UGC NET in which we will target finishing the syllabus within the stipulated time. So the course majorly would be to provide you a more disciplined way of preparing for your exams. And another thing is that we don't rely completely on any course, on any book, any material, any particular test series. Always trust more in your own strategy, more in what you do with your own hand. Trust that more and use everything else as support to enhance that trust, to build that trust. So thank you so much, everyone. That was all from myself.